It's Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, and this nitty gritty is so pretty. Okay, so guys, can we have a vote, please? Can we have a vote? Lillian Chacha. What are we going to call her? What is her new South African name? Is it going to be Lalela Chacha? Or is she going to be Lerato? Because she knows how to listen and she's full of love, right? Like, she has chosen to have a very nuanced perspective. She has chosen to actually listen to things from South Africa's perspective. She is not dehumanizing us and demonizing us and reducing us to a chapter in a textbook. She's not reducing us to someone's fantasy of what South Africa should be. She is listening when we say that 30 years of criminality in our country is enough. She doesn't expect us to ignore the human trafficking that has gone on because of things like identity theft. She doesn't expect us to ignore the children who have been poisoned because people who have fraudulent documents in our country get away with this, and because bribes have become an economy between our government and certain other key individuals that have a lot of self-interest, whether they come from our country or otherwise, right? She will sympathize with the kind of person who has a criminal record today because somebody else stole his identity and did crime on his behalf, and now he's sitting at home unemployed and can't get a job. She's listening to the fact that this isn't one story, this isn't 10,000 or 10 million. It's been millions of stories over a millennium, and that it's come from two countries, which I don't even have to mention to South Africans. You know which two countries those are. And we know and love many people from those countries, but must we sugarcoat that and lie about it, right? When those are where the syndicates happen to come from. The mafia happens to come a lot from there. Do we have to sit and sugarcoat children being turned into prostitutes, South African or otherwise? Even vulnerable illegal immigrants here who didn't intend, they try to come in legally, but someone takes their passport saying, well, no, we're just going to hand it there forward, and the next thing they snuck in here and then they're working in slave conditions. Do we need to be popular? When we say, must we vie for popularity and to be quiet about that and hang our heads? No, Lillian Chacha doesn't think that, and she is studying in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm not sure what a country of origin is, but she really has taken the time to listen to us. And right now, the popular narrative is to tear our character apart. And I mean, what's new about this, right? Anything we do, like, we found variants in COVID. I won't stop talking about it. And suddenly the world acted like we created the virus. Even to the point where an actress who had been in Sarafina, who had become a national symbol in our country, spoke disparagingly about our healthcare. So yeah, let's just see something from Lillian Chacha's thing, her channel, and then right after this, if you like my channel in any other way, in any way, please go and give her a like and subscribe as well. She's worth listening to, and we appreciate you, Lillian. We really do. We do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for not expecting us to bow down to someone's Zamunda fallacy, people who will go to the Americas of the world and the Britons of the world and everywhere else and pay their visas. I have lived in those countries. Those visa requirements are much higher than they are for South Africa. But people want to keep illegal fantasies here, not treat us like a full country. They want to keep that going, nah? They want to keep that going. And what you're not doing illegal immigrants in South Africa any favors, but because of these syndicates, a visa that'll cost you less than 2,000 Rand today at VFS. VFS is where it's the home affairs for immigrants, right? It should cost you that. It can now cost up to 15,000 Rand and north of that. A license in South Africa should cost you between 200-300 Rand. It'll cost an immigrant easily thousands of rands because of the bribing and corruption culture, and illegal immigration has caused all of this. So they're being exploited too, but nobody wants to hear that. It's so much easier to slap the word racist on someone, so much easier to slap the word xenophobe on someone. 8 girls, 60 minors, Krugersdorp 2018. Illegal minors in our country. Many of them, if you go to Dan Corder's channel, he will show how they're also being exploited. The rule of law has been so undermined, and people who just entered the chat want to suddenly be experts on South Africa. They want to be experts on South Africa and preach to us, nah? They're preaching to us. People will come to you and ask you, Does LaRue sound like a South African surname? Well, it does to South Africans. It does. It's been here for 400 years. Okay? People will come. We drink it every Christmas. We're about to drink it now. Okay, what is it? What is JC LaRue? Please tell them, Google. Our sprawling estate is the leading home of sparkling wine in South Africa. We grew up with this. And now you guys are going to come and try and preach to us about our history. Here I am, a whole history tutor, and you're going to give me the footnotes and no nuance in between. There was colonization. And then what happened? What happened after that? Name an event after that. Was there no colonization in America? Aren't those colonial borders? Is Botswana's independent border that was in the 60s, is that a colonial border? Zimbabwe, is that colonial? We know it was colonized in 1910 and stuff. Namibia's border in 1991, is that colonial? Notice how they named their own names. Come and preach to us, nah? Doesn't matter. Anyway, Lillian, what's anywhere now? What is the woman saying on your channel?
Important about being South African. What a question. Very interesting question indeed. And I think this is a question you're probably not serious when you're asking this. You're probably just asking it because you want someone to give you an answer. And I'll give
rhetorical question, but we're going to treat it as if you're being literal.
you an answer. Being South African is so beautiful because we're from a country of people who are resilient. When we're unhappy about something, we actually stand up for it and we fight for it.
We have varying histories that have to do with getting up and solving your problems. We're problem solvers. Okay, we were raised by centuries of problem solvers. Whatever else you want to say about their history, the people who came here were actually vetted for their entrepreneurial skills. The people who were here were already problem solvers. You'd have to know more about our history, but you're new to the conversation, so
rush to other people's countries to flock there. We know how to exercise our democracy when it's time to exercise our democracy, and when it's time to stand together.
Yep, we brought down largest apartheid between 1992 and 1994. We also brought down a president in 2018. This generation, where we are right now as a generation of South Africans, is where France was in the 1700s, where England was in the 16-ish hundreds. England didn't have an identity, a solid identity as you know it today, before around Shakespeare's time, around Henry VIII, Queen Elizabeth, and James I. That's when they really started getting their identity. And the complete works of Shakespeare and the King James Version of the Bible is what really cemented the language as it was. It was just seen as some sort of bastard language before that. Yeah. And many South Africans, we don't know to give ourselves the dignity of our own process, you know? We don't know that we're actually going through a very normal process because it's heavy when you're living through it. But trust me when I say we're doing an amazing job. Just by way of example, one of the things that gives South Africans a huge inferiority complex, especially in the 2000s, was our crime crisis. It was devastating, of course. We've all known someone, we've all been there. During robberies, we've all been robbed multiple times. If not ourselves, and many of our family and friends have been held at gunpoint. And because of shame transference, we've internalized this and kind of victim shamed ourselves. We've internalized that as like, what's wrong with our country? What's wrong with ourselves? Guys, as unfair and as brutal as this is, I want to drive it close to you I want to drive it into your mind that a normal horrible, but a normal part of a new democracy is actually hijacking, that it's been like that for centuries. So keep these images in your mind, okay? Remember that it's obviously more scary because in the modern day we've got faster vehicles and also more advanced weaponry, right? Now keep this image in your mind, but please link it in your mind to images such as this, right? What did these societies have in common with us? You had a large disparity between wealth and poverty. So there are people using weapons, not as advanced as we have today, but they have weapons, right? Not as advanced is what I'm trying to say. And so while people were traveling, here we go, and people get hijacked, right? That was normal. It was a normal part of that. Not fun for these people, I'm sure. Right? Here's a different stage, a different century. Now we do have firearms. However, huge disparity between wealth and poverty, a disparity in terms of governance, a newer country. What normally happens is this left to one race? Does only one race do it, for instance? Every society that has ever gone through the process South Africa has gone through went through something like this. They went through hijackings. I'm just using hijackings as an example, but a lot of the kinds of crimes that people went through, which now are looked at in a more romantic lens, are actually a huge and unfortunate part of a country that's still cementing herself, that's still figuring out who she is. And so, yes, criminals get away with doing crime with impunity, right? It's a sign that the country's not mature yet. But look at where those countries are now. If you consider that we are at this stage now, where America was back in the cowboy days, where Britain was back in the Robin Hood days, and shout out to Robin Hood, he actually is not the thief he's painted out to be. He had been robbed by the elite, and then he was trying to just get stuff back, okay? So be careful of that narrative, but be careful of this narrative about yourself. It is a natural process, and someone told me this at an airport once. She did tell me, and I was still too angry with South Africa at the time because I just didn't grasp what she was trying to say, and now I grasp it. She didn't say it in these words, but I just want you to just consider that. Reconsider the stereotype, okay? A fortunate part of history? No, it's not. A fun part of history to go through? No. We've had our hearts broken in a lot of ways, but certainly a normal part in a country with extreme inequality, in a country where the rule of law is still starting to cement. Initially, countries will go through their phase of corruption, extreme corruption, and this kind of stuff happens, okay? And people have tried to tell me that, and it's only clicked for me now. But moving swiftly forward, let's just hear more of what she has to say on Lillian's channel.
Together as South Africans, no matter how many differences we can have 50,000 different races. But when it's time to defend South Africa, South Africans will come through. Of course, we are different, and we know that there are South Africans who always throw us under the bus because they want to sound woke. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, it doesn't take anything from the majority of South Africans.
I would agree with that, but I would add some nuance that this is a real democracy, and they're entitled to their opinions. They are. We need each other to have different opinions so we can call each other out. And we have a constitutional right to our wrong opinions. So there we go. If we like stubbornness, even if we don't agree with you, we will defend your right to say that. There are some people that say outlandish things in this country. And I mean, it's their land, it's their home. We're family having a conversation.
Africa is rated as one of the most beautiful countries in the world. South Africa's economy is mentioned amongst the best in the world. South Africa has produced the richest man in the world. South Africa, in terms of sports, is one of the biggest sporting countries in the world. In terms of music, South Africa is one of the biggest music countries in the world. In terms of producing actors and actresses that take over the global stage, South Africa is trusted with doing that. In terms of being able to create a system that has the best education in the world, South Africa is trusted with doing that. That's why we'll have all kinds of countries come and have exchange with South Africa.
To those who are doubting what she says because we've internalized narratives of inferiority, trust me, there's more merit to what she says than you know. But the last time I made a video on this, it was an hour long. So I'm not going into all of the nitty-gritty for this one, okay?
To come here and study and so forth, because we're South Africa. I mean, South Africa has some of the most beautiful women in the world. South Africa has some of the strongest men in the world who know what it's like to wake up every morning and...
Shout out to Charlize Theron, Tyler, Zozi Binitunzi, Miss Universe 2019, longest reigning Miss Universe. Absolutely gorgeous women. Very strong men. Shout out to the Springboks. Shout out to Drickus du Plessis. Shout out to Eben Etzebeth. Yeah, all of the Springboks, shout out to all of them. But in case you're thinking, oh, you're saying the women are pretty and the men are strong, remember, the saying in South Africa goes, Watinta bafazi, watintumbokoto. You strike the woman, you strike the rock. There's only one person a South African man is afraid of, and that's a South African woman.
And work hard. South Africa is ranked as one of the best travel destinations in the world. That is South Africa. South Africa has some of the highest rankings in all the beauty pageants in the world. Miss World, Miss Universe, South Africa is there. South Africa is multi-diverse, and
we've had black, white, and Indian Miss Universes. I can't think how many Miss Worlds. And shout out not just to the ancient history of sorry, shout out not just to the history of Miss South Africa's, but Miss Africa South. That's something we're going to converse about soon, one day, when all the racial tension dies down, because it is a touchy topic. But shout out to all the Miss Africa Souths of the past.
Even through our diversity, one thing that will unite us is the fact that we're South African. So everything put aside, we will fight with each other, we will scrape each other, but when it's time to stand up for South Africa, we stand up for South Africa.
Another thing that unites you, my bro, is me, your massacant, you my mother's child, because me and my cousins over there in the Alvarado Park and in Mitchell's Plain and all the rest of us, you know who we are, ne? You know who we are. Because of us, you are now all blood relatives. It's blood. You guys are reducing family to skin color. We are family. You've already proved how much you like each other. If you didn't like each other, we wouldn't exist, even when times were tough. Even when times were tough, ne? We are evidence that actually there was more like going on there than you want to admit, ne? There was more like, yeah, ne? You are family. You don't remember that because you think about the world in a monoracial way, but family isn't always the same color. Shout out to the Kolisis, shout out to the Musi Maimanis, them, right? The Maimanis. Guys, it's lost upon you sometimes. We're your family. It's us. I'm your family. I might be the cousin you don't like, but I'm coming to the braai this weekend. Where's my muhodu? Where's my chicken? Where's my vors? I want that pumpkin salad, ne? You know the pumpkin. I didn't mention that in my life. I want the pumpkin. I'm coming to your house. Are you picking me up? Must I get my own taxi there? I'm coming.
It's just a pity that we've got a democracy that allows people to come to South Africa and do as people wish, because, I mean, we're a country that's been too friendly, too kind, and too welcoming to people, to the point that they felt that they're entitled to certain things that belong to South Africans. And when South Africans finally decided that it's time for us now to stand up for what is ours, because we're going to end up losing everything that belongs to us, then South Africa became xenophobic. That's how South Africa became xenophobic. When we said it's no longer South Africa for free for all, it's South Africa for South Africans, then South Africa became xenophobic.
Bearing in mind you can become a South African by following the same procedures you follow anywhere else. Go fill in the form, go put in your money, and go and wait. Like I waited for Mauritius, like I waited for the United States, like I waited for China, like I waited for Egypt, like I waited for India. Name, date of birth, passport number, here's the money. You can become a South African. You can become one. Mahatma Gandhi was a naturalized South African. Where do you think he did his work? The first registered nurse in the world, by the way, if you've ever been nursed, you're welcome, was in Kimberley, South Africa, Florence Nightingale. But being born a South African has never said that, we don't have citizenship by soil. We don't. J.R.R. Tolkien is South African born. Did you know him as a South African? Are you guys aware that Elon Musk, like she mentioned earlier, was South African? Charlize Theron? Some people don't even know Trevor Noah was South African and consistently spoke about that. Desmond Tutu. Nelson Mandela. You know these names. Have you connected them as one family? They're all related to me. We are family. Okay? You can earn that right. What is it about my country that you want to fetishize so much? that you want to reduce to a chapter in a textbook, that you think should operate like your fantasy of what a country should be, that you don't want to accept on her own terms? What is it about our people that you don't want to listen to what they want? We had the option of a violent revolution. We changed history, human history, by not having one. And now we're being lambasted for trying to build a united society against the grain. That's what's really going on here. We deserve more than to be seen as a wet dream. Zamunda was a fictional place in a comedy, which was very funny. Please don't go and cancel Eddie Murphy now. But it was also a place in which African women were portrayed as wanting to perform fellatio to aid people with their personal hygiene, which through the lens of a comedy is funny, but through the lens of a documentary, as many people see it, is degrading. Those are my mothers, those are my sisters, those are my teachers, those are my cousins, okay? Who deserve to be able to open a bank account, but they can't do that if somebody steals their identity. Who deserve to get a matric certificate after they've spent 12 years in school, but they can't do that if someone's stolen their identity. Who deserve access to health care. Who deserve to vote. When I was born, my mom had never had the right to vote. When I was 6 years old, asking her, Mommy, what is democracy? Because they were talking about democracy on TV, on the news, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're interrupting my cartoons. She had never had the chance to vote as a 40-year-old woman. You cannot do that when someone has stolen your identity. And when one country has been doing that for 30 years, then you're called xenophobic for calling it out because it's become such a stereotype that you didn't create. How fair is that? How much leg do you have to stand on? Are we to be silent while people who don't even have running water and electricity are bearing the brunt of the illegal activity in our country that was represented by people who have consistently come to take every bit of groceries out of an empty pantry? Must we be quiet on behalf of our poor when we have the most inequality in the world, 10 different levels of class groups? And I know you guys think they are very strictly determined by race. Race is a variable. It's a very real variable. But the situation on the ground is far more nuanced than your imagination would have you believe. Your narratives about us are lazy. They're lazy, they are dehumanizing, and I would fully encourage you to stop believing the worst about us and to actually take us at our word and listen. When can you think of an example where we haven't put our money where our mouth is? When have we ever gone for public approval? When have we ever not just been ourselves? It's unfair. Please just reconsider.
So if you ask me what is so special about South Africa, everything. And I mean everything is special about South Africa, from the smallest of things to the biggest of things. Yes, we're not saying that we're a perfect country. We've got our own issues and our own problems, but it takes nothing away from who we are. And who we are is a nation of people who are proud of who they are. It's a nation of people who will never run away to run away from their problems. Instead, we always face our problems head on and we always tackle them. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing now in making sure that we keep South Africa for South Africans. And we're going to fight that until the bitter end, because
you will never understand this if you were born free in an established nation. I was not born free. I was born under a system called apartheid. I was 8 years old when, along with 50 million people, I became the co-parent of a nation. We're going through the same process now that Hamilton went through in those days. We're going through the same process now that Milton went through in those days in England. That's where we are. That's our thing. We are the nation builders. We didn't inherit a built nation. We are building her daily. This is not just my home, this is my daughter. And if you would like to propose to her, if you'd like to commit to her, you are more than welcome, but be prepared for the discussion of what are your intentions with my child? What are your intentions? Are you here to just be a beneficiary, or are you going to be a benefactor too? Because we are all benefactors. We're all benefactors of this nation. We ensure that there is work here. The working class and the middle class and even the upper class is the last line of defense against absolute and extreme poverty in this country for the poor, to the point where we have pseudo jobs. We have pseudo jobs in this nation. Okay? We have pseudo jobs which we know good and how well we could do for ourselves, but we'll have a car guard, and we'll pay and tip somebody 5 rand to go and put our groceries in our car purely because we want to ensure that a family gets fed. Nothing that works here works because of the government. It works because of the people. It works because of the private sector. When we don't have enough police officers, private companies like Outsurance will put up pointsmen. That is one example. Okay? So please listen to what LILLIAN CHACHA has to say after this girl.
It's time now that South Africa is the big nation, the proud nation that it is, instead of a nation where everyone can come and do as they please and then turn around and feel like they're entitled to what South Africans should have. We only have one South Africa, and it belongs to us, and that's why being a South African is such a flex. Love you, South Africa.
So I hope she has answered you, and as you can see, there is everything special about South Africa. If you don't see anything special about South Africa and you are an illegal alien in South Africa, nobody is stopping you from parking and going to your own country.
South Africa.
So I wouldn't refer to another human being as an alien. I would refer to you as undocumented, but I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiment that planes go both ways. That really the immigration process in South Africa is so easy. It's so easy compared to what I've had to face for America. It's so cheap compared to America. It is so easy compared to, for instance, Mauritius. One day I'll tell you what I had to do for Mauritius. You'll be very shocked and disgusted, okay? But please listen finally to the song.
I look outside my window at the shadows in
The song is called My African Dream. It speaks first about the fears that we have as South Africans, and then about our hope.
darkness multiplying and weary hearts denied. All I feel is my heartbeat beating like a drum, beating with confusion. All I hear are the voices telling me to go, but I could never run, because in my African dream, there's a new tomorrow.
A classic South African song there. A classic song. All I hear are the voices telling me to go, but I could never run, because in my African dream, there's a new tomorrow. I was raised on the song. I was around 6 to 8 years old. Guys, that's been real. Thank you so much for joining Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty. I hope you found this nitty gritty pretty. And so I'll leave you with Vicky Sampson's song. I know it's cheesy, South Africans, but for now, can you tell me about LILLIAN CHACHA? Is she Lalela? Is she Lerato? Or do you have a better name for her? Some way, somehow. Okay, what's your name for her? Let me know in the comments. Thank you, and please hate to stay out.
My African dream is a dream that we can follow. Now when the night begins to fall, I listen for your call, I listen for your heartbeat.
And though it would seem my hope is just a dream, my African dream will bring an end to the confusion. Guys, if you are confused, let me make something perfectly clear. Accept South Africa for what she is, not for what you hope or wish she should be or what you think she should be. This is our home. You are welcome to her. You are welcome to enjoy the spoils, but you're going to have to earn your right. This has been Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty. It's super pretty. Please go to LILLIAN CHACHA's page. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you send her love. Make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and engaging with the kind of content that we want to engage with so that the algorithms can learn what's actually important in South Africa. You are leaders. You don't let anybody take our narrative. You don't let anybody get into the driver's seat of who we are. Have a lekker day. We love you. And lekker braai. Think about me at the braai, ne? I'm coming to the braai. You think I'm not your cousin. I'm your cousin. I'm coming. Okay, what's your address? Hey, don't put it on the internet. Okay, ciao for now. Like and subscribe. Ciao.